Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 13th episode of Battles and Voices. I'm Lathika, and I'm the founder and host.
And I'm Camden, and I'm the co-host.
And we
We
serve
serve on
on
the
the executive
executive
team of Battles and Voices.
voices.
Battles and Voices brings together professionals and mentors in the medical field to share their stories and journey with our audience.
Please welcome our guest, Saki.
Sakhi. Yes.
Saki, thank you so much for being a part of this episode. It means a lot for us that you are one of our guests here on Vitals and Voices.
Of
Feel,
course.
feel free to introduce yourself and share a few things about who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Sakhi, and I'm a current third year pharmacy school student at UC Irvine. And a little bit about me, I'm from California. I was born and raised in SoCal. So I did my undergrad at UC Irvine as well in Bachelor's of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences, and then I chose to stay here for pharmacy school as well. And I currently work as a intern at Albertsons Pharmacy. I also work at CollegeWise, which is a company that provides tutoring and like college prep services to high school students. So I work a lot with people your guys' age. Um, and I, on top of that, have a startup that I just recently co-founded called CuraVoice, which is an AI platform that helps healthcare students practice patient interactions and really hone in on their bedside manner skills. So that's just like been taking up a good chunk of my time recently. And then I'm also a medical writer for an all pharmacist company called Write Pharma, where we basically just publish we get contracts from different companies to publish articles related to like medicine and science. So yeah, and that is pretty much all of my jobs. In my spare time, I really like to cook. I like to travel as much as I can. I live in California by the beach, so you can catch me at the beach when I'm not doing something important. Um, and yeah, that pretty much sums up me.
Well, you sound like a busy girl, and I personally am a busy girl myself, and I think Latika is too. I think we both like to stay busy, just like how you do, obviously. And I can see all the passion that you have with medicine just from all the jobs you work in. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to enter healthcare and I guess about the current lines of work that you work in?
Yeah, so really what was the driving force for me was that I grew up in a very rural community. And as we know, in rural communities, healthcare is pretty difficult to come by. And I have a lot of family that also work in pharmacy slash healthcare. So I was never new to that space, but I didn't really know that I also wanted to pursue pharmacy until probably the tail end of my high school when I started working at an independent pharmacy. And fun fact, my senior year of high school was actually COVID year. So that's pretty much when I really knew like what I was going to do. And it was a really good experience because I saw the role that pharmacists can play in the healthcare system, especially in places where there's not a lot of healthcare resources and doctors simply don't have a lot of time or capacity to do what they need to do for their patients. So, being able to be on a side of healthcare that's able to contribute and fill in those gaps was super important to me. And when I did work during the pandemic in a pharmacy, I really liked what was happening and how we were able to impact patients' lives. So that's pretty much how I landed on staying within my major of pharmaceutical sciences and obviously going to pharmacy school. In terms of my different line of work, so I am a pharmacy intern, like I mentioned, at a community retail chain, Albertsons, Save-On, Safeway. They're all kind of the same sister company. Um, and I feel like, especially nowadays, retail pharmacy gets a really bad rep, and honestly, reasonably so. There are a lot of things that could be different in the way that the workflow, or not the workflow, but just how, corporations run things. But that goes for any profession, right? But I think, it's really rewarding being able to get that direct patient care, really be in the community and see people, on a routine basis because people come every month for their blood pressure meds or their diabetes meds and stuff. And so being able to talk to them about that, catching up about their lives in general, I feel like that's just really fulfilling. There's obviously hard days with that, not people don't always come happy into the pharmacy, right? But I think the good interactions so far have really made up for any of the negative ones. And I do enjoy being able to play that role for patients and explain things that they might not have otherwise known about their healthcare to them. As far as my role as a writer, medical writer is concerned, I do enjoy, and I think you could probably tell from my previous explanation, being able to break down difficult concepts into simpler, how like basically how how they have patches for like when you have like back pain or something like that, like how a certain formulation like works basically and how that's per study is like superior or not superior compared to existing treatments. So being able to talk about things like that and breaking it down is super rewarding to me. And I think that also goes into my tutoring role as well. I really do enjoy one, I love working with younger, like high school students and even kids younger than that. I don't get a lot anymore. I used to tutor elementary, but yeah, I really do enjoy just being able to break down simple concepts and like see sort of something click in someone's brain. Like I just find that so rewarding. So yeah, I think that really ties together all my roles there. And then as far as my startup, I believe a lot in, communication and being able to explain things properly to patients. And I think in a healthcare setting where you're pressed for time, it becomes especially important that with the minimal time you have, you're able to choose the right words. So that's why I started CuraVoice because in school, we learn all of the science and all of the nitty-gritty details, but having to reframe that into everyday language is not a skill that I think comes easy. And so having a tool and a platform to be able to practice that is super important and super cool to me, which is why I started that. So that pretty much sums up all my different roles.
That's wonderful. I can really see the passion like come from your from Cure Voice as well. So, how important do you think communication and health literacy when it comes to working in the medical field?
I think it's everything, honestly. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not able to properly communicate it, that could mean the difference. And especially in healthcare, the difference between life and death for a patient, right? Like if you accidentally phrase something the wrong way about how a patient's supposed to take their medications, then that could mean that the treatment's ineffective for them, or even worse, it could cause harm to them. So I think that's so important. And it's also important to realize that and this is something that I constantly have to like learn myself is that when you've been in school for so long, for one thing, this is my third year of pharmacy school. I did undergrad in 3 years. This is my sixth year of school related to like my degree program. So obviously, we hear everything in like textbook terms, right? And that is not digestible to the general public. And so just being wary of that. And, I can't tell you, oh, ibuprofen is a COX-1, COX-2 inhibitor. Like that's not going to make sense to the average person, right? Like I have to say, oh, it reduces any inflammation or swelling that you have, right? So constantly having to toggle in your brain between those two modes, I think that's so important and so critical. And you see sort of the effects of that every day, especially working in retail pharmacy where, patients are constantly coming up to you and asking, oh, so can I take, this medication for this, and being able to explain like why they can't use that for that or can. Yeah, it's really important to keeping the patient safe.
Well, I love that communication and just like teaching that to like anyone, and it goes for all specialties. Bedside manner or just mannerisms in general is very important to have while working in the field. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the AI voice simulation platform that you co-founded, CuraVoice,
Yeah,
and
so
how it helps other people?
yeah, for sure. So it's very much in its beginning stages. So we're still in beta testing. So we're basically getting students from pharmacy programs to start with and, see how they feel about the tool, tweaking it from there. I have the healthcare background. My co-founder has the tech background. He has a lot of experience in AI and things like that. So thank God, because like I can't code to save my life. So at least one of us can do it, right? But yeah, it was founded pretty much from that because in school, in pharmacy school and also medical school, nursing school, we had these things called OSCEs where you basically get tested on bedside manner. So it's usually like your professor or somebody pretending to be a patient, and then you have to counsel them and really explain stuff to them. So I noticed that, when it came to tests and stuff, no one would really freak out. But when it came to the OSCE, all of a sudden everyone's freaking out because in the classroom, we don't really practice things that way. Like we take exams, we pass them, we move on to the next topic. We don't really every week counsel a patient, right? Unless you're working in community pharmacy already, but not everybody does that or even has a role where they're allowed to counsel to the fullest extent. So, yeah, pretty much at first it was founded more so for that, for dealing with sort of that disconnect between textbook knowledge and everyday like usage of that knowledge. But now it's just, overall meant to help better patient outcomes by making sure that students are able to properly explain all of the things and have a safe space to practice that without, going on rotations and, practicing on a real patient, right? Because we want to be ready by the time you talk to a real person. So yeah, that it just helps students build that confidence. And I think, confidence is everything when you're trying to explain something to someone. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where the tool goes here on out.
I can't wait to see that in the future too, Loki. As somebody who's also going in the medical field, I would just personally love to get like more like experience on it and just making sure that I'm best in my way of mannerism when I'm like in the medical field. I think it is a very important thing.
For
Yeah,
sure.
same here. How do you balance your educational responsibilities alongside personal and professional lines of work, like, co-founding CuraVoice?
Yeah, it's tough, I'm not gonna lie. Like it's not come easy. And I think anybody that's in school and working a job and all that stuff, like that to be true. But I think when I was in high school, I used to participate in like everything I could get my foot in, right? And then undergrad, I sort of carried the same attitude as well. And all that really did for me was create a bunch of burnout. Yeah, it helped. My college apps looked great, but it just, I was so burnt out, right? That it was not really productive. And, when you're in healthcare, you can't really take care of someone else if you can't take care of yourself first, right? So, when I got to grad school, while I am busy, I feel like all of my commitments right now are just so personally fulfilling to me. Like I love everything that I do so much. And yes, it can be a lot in terms of managing schedules, but I think that, as long as you love what you're doing, work won't feel like work, And I think that what really helps me is I have a really good support system. My family, my friends, just everyone around me is well aware of the things I do. So they never pressure me into, well, why can't you hang out like every single day? Or why don't you, do this every single day? They've been really supportive of every new endeavor I do, whether that be CuraVoice or pharmacy school or even like my own social media platforms and things like that. So yeah, having voices around you that lift you up is definitely very important. And also a large part of the reason I decided to stay, in SoCal for grad school, because I don't think I would have been able to do everything if not for my support system. So yeah, that's really how I manage. It's just I love what I do and I surround myself with people that love me.
Honestly, I go with that same system. I all the extracurriculars as a current senior now. I put all my passion into I have to find passion for it to be able to work at it.
Hmm.
And I also can agree with my family being a huge support system as well. They get confused by all the extracurriculars I do, but they kind of get a little lost with everything I do. But deep down, I know they have all full support for me.
Hmm.
Do you have any future goals for Cura Voice in terms of growth or outreach?
Yeah, I think that right now we're trying to work with different universities and have establish like a pilot program for one of their classes at least. So that's kind of the current goal. The vision is really to see every healthcare student have that safe space to practice and mess up and learn from their mistakes, right? Rather than messing up in front of a real patient. And also for the ultimate outcome to be that patients can go to the pharmacy, go to the doctor's office, and leave feeling completely secure in their knowledge about their disease or their condition or the medications that they're taking. So, yeah, that's really just the ultimate goal. Hopefully, long term, if things play out, I will get to see that. But, yeah, and even in its beginning stages of students beta testing, a lot of them have said that it genuinely does provide that safe space that I was looking to create. So, yeah, at least in a smaller way, its mission is already being carried out for sure.
Well, that's amazing to hear.
That is amazing to hear. So is there anyone who has truly inspired you and really motivated you along your journey in the medical field?
I do have a lot of family in healthcare, like I said, specifically pharmacy, but also like doctors and things like that. And I think that the community that that has provided me has definitely been extremely supportive because I am technically first gen. Like my mom did go to college here, but like they did move here from India to the United States. Like they were not born here. And so I think just seeing, them and the struggles of their generation and being able to use that as inspiration, like if they can make it, I can make it. That has been extremely motivating for me. And definitely like a number one driving force that has kept me going through all these years of school and work and all that stuff. I think also my patients at the end of the day. I really felt like I landed in the right line of work when I started working in pharmacy, like in a physical pharmacy. And that's really just, just being able to hear that from a patient that, oh, no one ever told me that. Like, I can't believe I've been doing this wrong the whole time. Or sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, like, oh, when you told me to take like that one over the counter medication, like it completely helped me. And I've been dealing with this thing for years. Like, thank you so much. I feel like that has been super motivating and inspiring for me that, you know what, like I really can make a tangible difference in someone's life and better their quality of life just overall, even if it's in a small way. So yeah, my patients also keep me going. I think also my friends, just being as supportive as they are. And, even though my friends are not all in healthcare, like they're all doing different things like tech or, just totally different fields, but they try their best to be supportive and hear me out and listen to me like talk about, all things healthcare and stuff. And while they may not fully grasp what it is that I'm up to, they do provide their support and motivation all the time. And they're all, doing great in their respective fields too. So I think just seeing all of us grow and like prosper together, that's been really motivating as well. So yeah, I would say some combination of the three for sure.
That's so lovely to hear and beautiful. How has mentoring other students given you a unique perspective on healthcare?
I think that so I definitely mentor like other pre-pharmacy students whenever someone reaches out to me. And I've been doing that since I was an undergrad because I was a TA in undergrad for a pharmacy class. And so, that's kind of always been my thing. But when I started working for college wise about 2-ish years ago and mentoring students that were interested in all kinds of fields, I think just seeing everybody grow in things that they're really passionate about and start things like vitals and voices right at such a young age, that's been really inspiring to me because if you guys are all chasing your passions, like why shouldn't I, right? And so yeah, I would say it's provided unique perspective in that sense. It also gives me unique perspective on people that are not pursuing healthcare. I think it's really important to gain that outside knowledge on the average public because at the end of the day, like that is who you're dealing with is just all kinds of people, right? Not just people in healthcare. So yeah, being able to learn more about those fields, like for example, tech and engineering and all that fun stuff, like I don't innately know much about that, right? But I learn from my students every day. And, some of them even teach me like good systems that they implement in their day-to-day lives. And I'm like, oh, like I'm going to try that now. So yeah, I learn from them just as much as they learn from me. And I'm really grateful to be able to connect with so many like bright young minds for sure.
Yeah, I really love that. I think mentoring students kind of gives you unique perspective on their lives, and you can help them with anything related to medical school or the healthcare field. So, besides mentoring students, is there anything outside of the healthcare field and the education field that you enjoy doing for fun?
So I do enjoy social media, doing social media for fun. It very much is like not that serious for me. Like it's not like I make money off of it or whatever, but it is I do find, making content and editing videos and coming up with scripts, like that is all it's a good creative use of my brain, especially because, healthcare and education, you don't really get to do that in your like day-to-day job. So having a creative outlet for those things is really, really fulfilling to me. I have an account called Sakhi Patel.rx, which is where I post content about just being like a pharmacy student, things about the pharmacy world in general, balancing grad school and work, and CuraVoice, and basically anything that I have going on in my life. And it's just nice being able to build community and connect with other people that are interested and passionate about the same things that you're passionate about. I might not have a lot of followers, but I definitely get plenty of DMs, and I get to have really meaningful conversations with lots of different people about what it is that they're up to, and being able to provide any insight where I can when I'm being asked a question. So I think just having that space online to do so has been really kind of my favorite like side hobby for now. So yeah.
I love that. And just always making that time outside of healthcare and still having your own interests to pursue as well as healthcare. Um, what was the most challenging part you would say about applying to pharmacy school?
I think the most challenging part is one, like I said, I am first gen. So like I didn't really have even the people in my family that did apply to farm school back then. It was not online. It was not you had to write X amount of essays or do this many extracurriculars. Like things were so different 20 years ago, right? So learn the system and learn the ropes a lot better over time. But in the moment, it was definitely really hard. I think also just I've always been somebody that's had multiple interests, whether that be like healthcare or advocacy work or whatever. So it was always a challenge to kind of tie that into my application because I always felt like that would make me a weaker applicant. But I now realize that having different interests and talking about different things actually makes you stand out as an applicant. So yeah, at the moment that was definitely a challenge and just navigating the system as a whole. Other than that, I would say it was very similar to what the undergrad application process was like. So it was a lot of that same like anxious waiting for the results and all of that. And except I know for undergrad we didn't have that many interviews, like it wasn't really a thing for a lot of the schools, but for grad school, pharmacy school, you do have mandatory interviews. So for me, interviews are always fun. I love talking, so like I wasn't really worried about that portion. But yeah, I would say just, having to balance all those things and submit everything and make sure that I wasn't missing the different requirements for the different schools. That was the challenge. But again, having to learn the system from scratch, I think definitely made me more comfortable with it now and is the part of the reason why I'm able to help other people with it. So I'm not upset about that experience whatsoever.
Yeah. So is there any advice that you'd like to give to some of our students that are watching this episode right now, that maybe want to try to enter the healthcare field or its intersections?
Yeah, I would say one, don't doubt yourself. I know that healthcare comes off as a very competitive space, and that's not to say that it isn't, but I think that a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit for what they're able to do and, really make sure that you're sure of yourself before you do it. I would also advise that you really research the different healthcare fields. I feel like Vitals and Voices is doing a great job of bringing all of the different fields of healthcare to the front. So this is a great place to start in terms of learning for sure. But there's so many things you can do besides like go to med school, go to pharmacy school, go to nursing school. Like there's so many niche fields of healthcare that didn't exist before, but now because of technology and just the way society is different exists now. So my advice is really explore those things before you commit because healthcare is a long and grueling journey, and if once you're stuck, it's going to be hard to pivot out. So just make sure you settle on the right path for you and for the life that you envision for yourself. And always like reach out, contact different people in the field. Don't be shy. I promise, like if you cold email or cold message somebody on LinkedIn, 9 times out of 10, they're usually happy to help out students like yourself. So, don't be shy. Get the advice and the mentorship that you need, because ultimately that's going to help you make the correct decision for yourself. But yeah, that would be my biggest advice.
Well, that's some amazing advice. And I just want to say thank you so much, Saki, for telling us all about your experiences and the growth that you've had.
It's
Thank
really
you
inspiring to hear about the challenges you've overcome and your goals for the future.
so much for having me.
Of course. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us on this episode of Battles and Voices. Your support means the world to us and we wouldn't be here without you.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow, share, and stay tuned for more episodes on Vitals and Voices. We'll see you next time.